Nam Thank you. Alika Ali Let's pay homage to the lineage Guru and the rituals of the altar. Second to all bodhisattvas. Third to all herukas and dhamma protectors. Fourth Hepa. We are inviting the primary supplicants for this Homa to come forward and present the offering of Hatha to the lineage Guru as a symbol of the highest honor. Now let's applaud and show our utmost gratitude to His Holiness for His blessings. Now inviting His Holiness to bless the offering items at the shop. Inviting His Holiness to take the Homa throne. We're inviting Sumo, all the Dharma Masters, reference, our distinguished guests, and all participants to please be seated. Let's show our utmost gratitude to His Holiness for presiding over this Homa, and would also like to extend warm welcome to Sumo, all participating masters, reference, and all participants from all over the world. The Akasaba Homa fire offering has now begun. Visualize true Buddha lineage. Namo Vairocana Buddha, Namo Buddha Lokana, Namo Amitabha Buddha, Namo Living Buddha Lien Sheng, Namo Padma Kumara, Namo Living Buddha Lien Sheng. Visualize Grandmaster and all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas radiate light to bless us. Recite the Guru Mantra 7 times. Om Guru Lien Sheng Siddhi Om, 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 Om Guru Lien Sheng Siddhi Om. Om Guru Lien Sheng Siddhi Om. Recite purification mantras and the deity mantra. Om Shudori Shudori Shuhori Shuhori Soha. Om Vajrada Ho Om. Namo Samato Motoran Om Duru Duru Deve Soha. Lien Zhao Qin Zhou. It's an invocation mantra. Om Om Soha. Om Om Soha. We sincerely invoke our lineage Guru, the White Mahapadma Kumara, His Holiness Living Buddha Lien Sheng. Our lineage Guru, the White Mahapadma Kumara, His Holiness Living Buddha Lien Sheng. Our lineage Guru, the White Mahapadma Kumara, His Holiness Living Buddha Lien Sheng. We sincerely invoke the main deity of Homa, Namo Akasagarbha Bodhisattva. The main deity of Homa, Namo Akasagarbha Bodhisattva. The main deity of Homa, Namo Akasagarbha Bodhisattva. We sincerely invoke Namo Yamantaka, Akala, the four heavenly kings, Golden Mother of the primordial Jetpon, Sma Bodhisattva, Rainbow temples, all Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, Herukas, Dhammapalas, Dakinis, and divinities. All the deities enshrined at the True Buddha Temple Quarter, at the Seattle Lechang Temple, at the abode of the Southern Mountain, and at the True Buddha Seattle chapter. Rainbow temples, mountain god, earth god, plant god, wind god, water god, heavenly fire god, dragon gods, all divinities as well as the city god, to please radiate light and bless this Homa. Great homage using visualization. First to Root Guru and all Buddhas. Visualize for procession on the ground, release the mudra. Second to all Bodhisattvas. Visualize for procession on the ground, release the mudra. Third to all Herukas and Dhamma protectors. Visualize for procession on the ground, release the mudra. Fourth head bow. Great mandala offering, form the offering mudra. Visualize the transformations of the offerings to become innumerable to fill the whole space. Make the offering above the lineage guru, all lineage gurus, the main deity of Homa, Akasa Garbha Bodhisattva. All Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, Herukas, Dhammapalas, Dakinis, and divinities, and below to the sentient beings. Mount Meru, four continents and sun and moon transform into places of rest for the Buddhas. May these wondrous treasures and merits birth our karma to allow for civilization. For full refuge, visualize our lineage root guru, all the lineage gurus, Buddha jewel, Dhamma jewel, and Sangha jewel to form bright white light to empower us. Reset the mantra. Alma protection. Reset Vajrapani mantra 7 times. Inviting souls to perform blessings with Mama. Inviting His Holiness to set ceremonial demarcation to bless the prayers, registration forms, and the offerings with Vajra bell and scepter. Inviting His Holiness to perform the ritual of opening the fire pit and set ceremonial demarcation around it.
请圣尊点燃护摩火，供品下炉炼化息灾祈福增益敬爱。
Inviting His Holiness to lit the Homa fire to perform mudra transformations for purifications, enrichments, magnetization, subjugation, and Bardu deliverance. The assembly will be reciting the Hat Mantra of the main deity of Homa today, Akasakarbha Bodhisattva. And during this time, you may also perform the Homa visualization, which is the emergence of the main deity, the merging of the main deity and the Homa fire, and the merging of yourself into the Homa fire. Visualize the Homa fire to burn away all your karma. Recite the mantras of the principal deities and incan Buddha Amitabha.
Om Ahom Beta Guru Prema Siddhi Hom Se. Om Ahom Guru Pe Aha Sasamaha Lien Sheng Siddhi Hom. Deyatha Om Bekasaya Bekasaya Maha Bekasaya Lata Samo Kyatereya Soha. 南无36万亿111万9500阿弥陀佛阿弥陀佛。南无36万亿111万9500阿弥陀佛阿弥陀佛。南无36万亿111万9500阿弥陀佛阿弥陀佛。回向。
Merit dedication. May all uphold the Buddha, ascend to the realm of utmost bliss, repaying for full generosities from above, aiding those in the three realms below. Upon seeing the Buddha, may we transcend life and death. Like the Buddha, may we live with all. Dedicate the memory of this home to our lineage Guru. May you stay healthy, live a long life with great self-mastery, continue to stay in the Saha world to turn the Dharma wheel. Inviting His Holiness to perform the overall merit dedication. Homage to the Treasury Vajra. Homage to the treasure store Vajra. Homage to the treasure store Vajra. We pray to the treasure store Vajra to bestow upon all participants wisdom, memory, and fame. We pray to the treasure store Vajra to guide the Bhadra spirits to be reborn into the pure land of fragrance realm. Please bless all participants with good health, the eradication of illnesses, may they be endowed with good memory, endowed with abundant resources, endowed with good memory, and with harmony, love and respect, and endowed with abundant resources. Wholeheartedly, we pray for auspiciousness during the day and around the clock. May we have the ultimate bright radiance and attain fruition through our spiritual cultivation. To the gods of the heavens, gods of the earth, may we be far from all calamities, may all calamities abandon us, let all disasters turn into dust. We pray to Akasagarbha Bodhisattva to bless us so that all obstructions vanish, so that all enemies and enmities disappear. We say 100 syllable mantra 3 times.
Ha 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 Bhagavan Sawa Tathagata Petsamami Mancha Petsapawam Mahasamaya Sato Ahom Pei Om Petsa Sato Samaya Manupanaya Petsa Sato Tenu Padita Seso Me Pawa Suto Kayu Me Pawa Sopo Kayu Me Pawa Anurato Me Pawa Sawa Sidi Me Purayata Sawa Karma Satame Sitamu Sirijan Guru Hom Ha 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 Bhagavan Sawa Tathagata Petsamami Mancha Petsapawam Mahasamaya Sato Ahom Pei Om Petsa Sato Samaya Manupanaya Petsa Sato Tenu Padita Seso Me Pawa Suto Kayu Me Pawa Sopo Kayu Me Pawa Anurato Me Pawa Sawa Sidi Me Purayata Sawa Karma Sutame Sitamu Sirijan Guru Hop Ha 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 Bhagavan Sawa Tathagata Petsamami Mancha Petsapawam Mahasamaya Sato Ahom Pei.
Great homage using visualization, first to Root Guru and all Buddhas. Visualize for procession on the ground, release the mudra, second to all Bodhisattvas. Visualize for procession on the ground, release the mudra, third to all Herukas and Dharma protectors. Visualize for procession on the ground, release the mudra, fourth Hepa. Recite completion mantra.
Om Brim, Om Brim, Om Mani Padme Hum。请大家起立，恭敬合掌，恭请圣尊升法王座。
Now let's join our palms, and together with reference, we're inviting His Holiness to take the Dharma teaching seat. Now please be seated. And now let's applaud once again to show our utmost gratitude to His Holiness for presiding over this wonderful Homa fire offering ceremony. Now let's join our palms, and together with reverence, we are inviting His Holiness to bestow the precious Dharma teaching. First, let's pay homage to the lineage gurus, homage to the Venerable Mang Liao Ming, Homage to Master Sakya Tsongkhung. Homage to His Holiness the 16th Karmapa. And homage to Master Thubten Tarshi. Homage to the three jewels of the altar. And homage to the main deity of Homa today, Akasa Garbha Bodhisattva, the Vajra of the store of treasures. Simu, all Dharma masters, Dharma educators, Dharma teachers, Dharma instructors, Dharma assistants, directors of temples and chapters, and all disciples present here and over the internet. And our participating VIPs today are Accountant to Buddha School, Dharma Sister Teresa and her husband, and a member of the Buddha School Scholars and Professors Group, Professor Dr. Liang Caofan. Producers for Kenny Tianzang Xinten from CTI TV Taiwan, Dharma Sister Rebecca Xiachi, Dr. Ryan Zhuang, Dr. Su Lin, and the rep for the council from Taipei City, Dharma Sister Xue Huilin, and the daughter of the former council from Kaohsiung City, Dharma Sister Wu Meixian. Good afternoon, everybody. How do you do? I would like to announce for next Sunday, August 27th, Sunday at 3, there would be the Mahottara Heruka Homa fire offering ceremony. And this is a very special one, extraordinary one. Just this mantra can alleviate illnesses. Very responsive. So Mahottara Heruka has huge, tremendous power, and also there are eyes all over his body. Eyes. And there would also be empowerment for the truth of true Buddha wisdom, all the wisdom of true Buddha school, and then the empowerment for Mahottara Heruka, and the empowerment for the practice for eyes all over the body. That would be next Sunday. Typically, for Mahottara ceremony, there would be many miracles. Those who suffer from ailments, or when you have sores and pain all over the body, there are many illnesses that can be cured. So you will visualize the areas that are sick, and by listening to the mantra and visualizing the areas of your body that are sick, then the sicknesses will be eradicated. And there was a miracle when the ceremony was at the CKS Hall, the Memorial Park in Taipei, organized by the Zhongguan chapter. There was a bus that was driving by the CKS Hall, and someone on the bus had a tumor on his neck, and he was going to the hospital for treatment. and he knew that he had the tumor on his neck. And as he was passing by the ceremony, he heard the mantra of the Mahotara Heruka. He did not attend the ceremony. He did not belong to the Buddha school. He was just passing by. When he heard the mantra, he felt warm all over his body, and he felt electricity, electric current coming through his body. And in the morning, he still felt the tumor, but when he got to the hospital and the doctor examined it, and the doctor said, "Where had it gone to?" And he looked at himself in the mirror, and the tumor was gone. It was quite a miracle. Just by hearing the mantra of Mahotara Heruka. And then he felt warmth all over his body and felt some electric current going into his body, and the tumor was gone. So we have to visualize. So next week that would be very wonderful, and the mantra is very much, really strong, very powerful. And this is the mantra that I like most of all the mantras. Do you know how to chant the mantra, Master Lien Yin? I'll give you a test. Please chant the mantra of Mahotara Heruka. Uh-oh. You failed. Someone came out by herself. The mantra is extremely important. Today we perform Akasagarbha Bodhisattva because tomorrow we had the sun eclipse. Tomorrow is sun eclipse. And Akasagarbha resides in space, in the sky. And we heard that his Pure Land is on the stars. And he's considered the treasury Vajra. His wisdom is the same as the sky. And we know the 8 great bodhisattvas, Kuan Yin Bodhisattva, Maitreya, Samantabhadra, Maitreya, Akasagarbha, Vajrapani, Manjusri, Viskambi, Siddhigarbha. So of all the 8 great bodhisattvas, Akasagarbha is considered in the wisdom area. And he has 3 vows. Is that he would like to bestow the perfect wisdom upon sentient beings. And second is to bestow perfect memory upon sentient beings. By practicing this deity, you can recover lots of your memories. As you age, you would have memory loss. As you get older, when you reach the 70s, you would start to forget some things. in the 90s, you will forget everything. Like what Chen Chuan-Fang said, Linda, that at the age of 1, you're born, and at 10, you're in studies. At 20, you're at the top of your youth. At 30, you're into career. At 40, you start to gain weight. At 50, you're at your mid-age, whatever. And at 60, by blood pressure start to go up. At 70, you start to forget. At 80, you wobble when you walk. At 90, you lost yourself. You lost your direction, and at 100, you hang on the wall. So when you reach 70s, when you practice the Akasagarbha Bodhisattva, then you would always have good memory. So you would remember when you read, and you remember all the mantras, and you remember all the looks or image of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. So you would remember the mantras, the looks, and the mudras. Then that would be incredible. Many people can memorize. Like when they were young, they memorized the 300 poems of the Tang dynasty, and they pass any test you give. And they have good memory. Some people, that they can memorize 100 different songs. And Grandmaster has written 262 books, and they memorize all the books from book number 1 to 262. Shiyachi's son, what was his family name? Tai Jin could memorize from book 1 to book 200. And he did not forget once he read. And I heard that Tai Jin did not like to study. He liked to play the computer, to play the games. But very strange that when he reads once, that's it. Then he just play, but yet he is first in class. That he never forgets what he reads, and with one glance he could read 10 lines. He has a very strong memory, like memorizing the English words. He would know once he sees it. His English is good. He ranked first in school in Uyghur, and he's enrolled into the Taita, National Taiwan University, and to the medical school, electrical school. So he passed for many universities, and he ranked first for all of them. kid is quite incredible. But for us, we forget everything. And the mantra for Akasagarbha, so when you chant the mantra, there should be pause. Like the mantra chanting earlier, that was continued. So the mantra chanting should be divided. It's not that you chant it continuously and with loudly. And sometimes you can chant it softly or gently. Sometimes that's good too. It doesn't have to be strongly or loudly. I don't like the mantra chanting today, frankly speaking. I don't like the mantra chanting that they played today. Please play it once again. If you chant like this, that there's no variations at all. You can just chant once and then you just repeat it over and over. That's not acceptable. So Akasagarbha, his body is white, he's wearing a crown. And he's sitting upon a blue-green lotus. His right arm is held inward and holds a flaming sword, and left fist is at his waist and carrying a lotus with the pearl-shaped jewel. So his body is white. So wearing white is fine. But the sixth syllable, kang, is blue. It's like the sky blue, because the sky is blue. So white is fine too today. Wearing white is okay today. He's considered wisdom, memory, and honor and glory. So you can pray to him for these three. And the Vajra name is the treasury Vajra. And the Pure Land is called the fragrance Pure Land. So the 8 great bodhisattvas each has their own Pure Lands, and Akasagarbha's Pure Land is called the fragrance realm. And his Pure Land is in the whole sky like the stars. And Akasagarbha so the 2 secret gates of merits and wisdom. And the mudra is like this. Inward. And then the 2 index fingers like forming a treasure jewel. And his image, pay attention to his right hand, which is holding a treasure sword, and the left hand is holding a lotus. And at the top of the lotus, there is also a treasure jewels. So the form of the treasures are like this, typically in this form. And during sun or moon eclipse, if you practice Akasagarbha Dharma practice, it would be extremely responsive. And he's once said that this is the key formula, that during the sun eclipse, you perform the Akasagarbha Dharma and you visualize his sword to become white light entering into a bowl of water which you are to drink. So you make an offering of water and also a glass of water that you will drink. And you visualize the sword and the treasures to become white light. The sword becomes white light entering into the bowl of water, and the treasures to become many colored light to enter into the water. And during the sun and moon eclipse, after the Dharma practice, you drink the glass of water. And that would be the same as Akasagarbha Bodhisattva giving you blessings, so that you would have more wisdom, better memory, and all your wishes fulfilled. And tomorrow is the sun eclipse. And during the sun eclipse, during that time, you practice the Akasagarbha Dharma. Then you would be able to receive personal blessings from Akasagarbha. This is the pith instruction, the key formula. As I said before, in the past, Kobodaishi or Kukai, and the cave where Kobodaishi practiced, have you been there? When you visited Japan, have you visited the cave where Akasagarbha practiced? There was someone there. Have you been to that cave? No? No one? I've been to the cave where Kobodaishi practiced. He cultivated spiritually inside the cave and had Akasagarbha as his yidam, the Dharma of praying. So he was sitting at the mouth of the cave looking at the ocean and the sky. And the star descended and a ray of white light entered into his mouth. And Kobodaishi had great memory. So that's the practice, to pray for listening and thinking. So with the blessings by Akasagarbha, then you would have really great memory. You will not forget. It's written here, Akasagarbha Bodhisattva has special uniqueness, that his merits fill the sky. He could be as the world deity. His wisdom is also filled the whole sky, and then his wisdom also filled the whole sky, and memory. So if you want to become a king or president or become officers, and you want to have great power and authority, then you can practice Akasagarbha. This is what's special about him. So anyone who registered for the primary supplicants all have good memory, because tomorrow is already the sun eclipse. It's quite close. So practice today. And then if you combine today and tomorrow, that's fine. It's not long apart, so your memory will still be good. You'll have better memory. Remember his look. The crown that Akasagarbha is wearing is the same as the crown that Vairocana is wearing. And this hand is holding the sword, and this hand is holding the treasures. Now we will continue to talk about Lamdre. The second is the beginning of the affinity of the scenes. And the beginning of the scenes divided into four. The scene of the channels and the body. So the channels inside the body. The scene of the channel seats. There are seat syllables on the channels. Or in the body there are seat syllables. And the scene of the area ambrosia and the scene of the chi. There are four kinds of scenes that would appear during spiritual cultivation. And there are explanations here too. The scene of the channels inside the body, the gathering of the mind chi by relying on the central channel at the place where the cement and blood are on the 2 channels and 32 channel knots. One will see mountains and cliffs. When the mind chi gathers at the 72,000 extra fine channel areas, one will see oneself entering into the 3 branches, etc. Like the central channel that we are talking about today, typically I would say that in our practice of Qi primarily is to open the central channel. And there's 7 chakras in the body: the crown chakra, the brow chakra, the throat chakra, the heart chakra, the navel chakra, the secret chakra, and the base chakra. So this is called the 3 channels and 7 chakras, which you have to remember. And the most important is the central channel. So the channel from the top of your head to the base. And when this channel is open and flowing, then light will be emitted. So that's why it's called the radiant channel, or the illuminated channel. So in tantric practices, the most important ones are the Qi channel and light drops. And the light drops that appear are the area ambrosia. If the 5 area ambrosia is evenly distributed, and gathers at the 5 syllables of the heart, one will see 5 kinds of names Tathagatas. By increasing the power of the 2 kinds of red and white ambrosia at the brow and secret area, one will see sun and moon. So the 5 Buddhas will be on your body. So in the body mandalas, at the brow chakra is Vairocana Buddha. At the throat chakra is Amitabha Buddha. At the heart chakra is Akshobha Buddha. At the navel chakra, it's Ratnasambhava Buddha. And at the secret chakra is the Amoghasiddhi Buddha. So including the 6 syllables, Vairocana Buddha, 6 syllable. When we recite Vairocana's mantra, how do you? Peta Tatu Fan. So A, We, La, Hom, Kan. These 5 syllables are on your body, which is earth, water, fire, wind, and space. They are all inside your body. So as long as the central channel is open, sometimes a scene will appear. What he writes here is kind of strange. That you would see your own body entering into the tree branch. What does it mean? Actually, the tree branch or the tree trunk is the central channel. So when your soul entering into the central channel, it's the same as seeing yourself entering into the tree trunk. So that's the scene of the channels of the body. And the sits or the syllables that gathers, then they would see the lighting of the lamp that eliminates ignorance. Then you would see light, clear light. When the central channel is open, then naturally light would be eliminated. So the 6 paths, what are they? So the 6 realms, hell, hungry ghost, animal, human, asura, and the heavenly realm. And you would be able to see all of them. And that's the scene of the channel seeds. Actually, in Grandmaster's mantra, there are the 6 paths. Ahasasamaha. They are the 6 paths. So also related to the 6 syllables, you can see the places of the 6 paths. Then you would see the phenomena of the 6 paths. And the 5 area ambrosia is evenly distributed and gathers at the 5 syllables of the heart. One will see the 5 kinds of Tathagatas. You will see Vairocana Buddha, Amitabha Buddha, Akshobha Buddha, Ratnasambhava Buddha, Amoghasiddhi Buddha. See the 5 Buddhas. At this time, then the ambrosia at the brow point will increase. And then the power of the white and red ambrosia at the secret area. So white body and red body. So your blood will increase and your semen will increase. That's the power of the 2 kinds of ambrosia. And one will see the sun and moon of the 3,000 worlds. You would be able to see the sun and the moon and all the suns and moons of the 3,000 worlds. So this is the 4
另外还有气
scenes.
这时地
And then the scene of the qi, gathering the earth's qi at the basic place of navel, one will see smoke and such scenes. If you want to ignite in a fire, when you close your eyes, you would be able to see smokes.
有讲的
In Tantrayana,
处有烟，就知
it's
道那里有火。
said that if you see smokes in the faraway
就是你着火快要
place, then you know there would be fire. So if you see smokes, then you know that your inner fire is about to be ignited.
这个着火如何产生？你只要看到烟的景象，你快要出生，
How is the inner fire
在你
ignited?
看到烟的景象，
If you see smokes in front of your eyes, then you know that your inner fire is about to be generated. At that time, only at this time you can use the strong breathing. There was a master that especially taught people to breathe strongly, but actually you should not do it normally. Normally, you can only use the long, gentle, and fine breathing. If you use a very powerful breathing,
你才可以用力动。
only when you see smokes and only when the fire is about to be generated. You use this powerful breathing to push and then to ignite it, so that the fire would be ignited. And this is the inner fire.
话说啊，
Words through the grapevine.
这个叉叉在莲花童子殿，他
X
在修着火，
was practicing inner fire at the Padmakumara hall,
轰，
and she said
哇，
with
着火
home
就产生出来，
the inner fire
结果
was
他身体
generated,
舍利子，哇，这样出来，
and there were many sariras generated
但是
in
他
her
最后
body.
讲
And then at the end she
全
said
部被同门给他脱光，
that the disciples stole all of her sariras.
我说既然有舍利子产生出来，
If sariras were generated, why didn't you pick
让
them
同门
gather
去到
them
这个莲花童子殿里面，把
so
所有的
that
舍利子
when
把你
fellow
脱光
disciples, but instead you say
那你既
disciples
然
went to
有
that
那种
Padmakumara hall
你
and
就知
stole
道
the
是哪一个
sariras.
同门脱的。
And if you have such a psychic power, you would know which disciples stole them,
或者是
and
说
you can
至少要回一
ask
点
them
可以啊，因为
back,
他可
or
能
at
有
least
舍利
some
子
of
出
them,
来
because she said that she produced many
就
sariras.
是着火通的时候也有很多舍利子出来，
When Grandmaster
那么这个舍利子我就
ignited the inner fire, there were also many
还有
sariras
时候人
generated.
家要我就给他几颗，
I kept them in my room, and I give a little bit, a few to people who
舍
wanted it.
利子会被偷走，
They were not stolen.
奇怪，难道
How could your
起来都没有
sariras
看到
were
舍
stolen?
利子吗？
So you didn't see the sariras when you got up?
啊，这是疑点，有可疑的地方。
This is a
他到底
question.
着火通了没有？
Was her inner fire really ignited?
他有没有看到烟啊？
Did
看到烟的
she
时候就要开始
see?
做力动呼吸
Did
啊
she
什么
see
是力动呼吸
smoke?
呢？
And when you see smokes, you have to do the powerful breathing. Do you know what it
要
is?
很急促的
Very quick and strong.
用压让着火出来，
And you have to press and push
很
so
短
that the inner fire would
而且
appear.
很快吐出来，很快吸进去
And
很快
very
力动呼吸
fast.
力动呼吸
Very powerful, very strong.
蹦恰蹦恰蹦恰蹦恰蹦恰蹦恰蹦恰蹦恰蹦恰蹦恰蹦恰蹦恰蹦恰蹦恰蹦恰，嘣，就着火就出来了。我只能够这样子解释。
And then the inner fire would be ignited. That's all I could explain. You just kind of like push, push, push. Sometimes
嘣，哇，气呀，
you're dead, exploded.
会死的，
You can die
因为力动呼吸这个
because this
你知道这个人家讲说
short and harsh
马
breathing.
上风就是心脏
Do you know that illness Ma Sang Fong is the heart was beating so fast, and then
就走了。
then you become like Bruce Lee,
很那个的。
like you died during
这
intercourse.
你看到烟，记得就是要立动呼吸。
So when you see the
生出来最伟大的
smoke, then you have to do this powerful
弥
breathing.
勒日巴，
Then inner fire would
最伟
appear.
大的成就者，你是弥勒日巴。
And the greatest Mahasiddha for inner fire practice was Milarepa.
很久很久哎。
He went through a lot of hardships. He worked really hard and for a very, very long
要把那
time
个气轮哦，
at his inner fire practice. He had to press at the navel chakra and rub it
气跟它
and
摩
use
擦
chi to rub
摩擦
it.
气轮这样就像棒子一样的这样打，
It's like
这样打。
the bat
那么
to keep
风
beating
气
on
进
it
来的时候啊，
using the breath that you take in, a very strong and powerful to push on the navel area.
多接帕姆，
And you have to visualize the red Dorje
观想
Patmu.
咒日
And you visualize the sit syllable, the half ah sit syllable
金刚亥米，
that becomes Vajrayogini or Dorje Patmu,
而且是旋转，
like a fire and also like curving.
左右脉的风，
And then you use the wind through the left and right channels to blow on it,
让它
and to
升起
blow and press on it to ignite the fire. And you keep visualize that point of
升天
heat
的时候就
and using the wind to blow on it.
加上了热，
And when there's that point
再吹，
and with the power of the wind,
就点了。
then they would be ignited. That's inner fire.
叫做空达尼，
And in Hinduism, it's called the Kundalini practice.
就是走火。
That's inner fire. Kundalini is inner fire.
灵蛇，在整
It's
个
also translated as like a spirit
火蛇一样的
snake,
烧成的
like the fire snake that's burning the whole body.
阿珍跟老公吵架，
Ajahn was
互不讨好，
fighting with
两个人
her
在沙发
husband
上
and ignoring each other, seated on the sofa, and they were playing with their cell phones.
放来一个奖励，
And Ajahn couldn't hold it and
更
farted.
大的奖励，
And the husband farted even louder.
生气，
And Ajahn got mad.
哟，你还敢顶嘴？
Oh, you're arguing with me?
那是气，那是
That's
气的作用，
qi.
气的作用。
That's the
然后我们
function
的
of
莲
qi
上师啊，
or gas.
呃
Actually, the gas is the
莲
qi.
上师的
Master Lien
家
Teng,
兄，我们
which
讲
is
家兄啊莲
the
莲妙上师的家兄。
family Dharma brother of Master Lien
他
Miao.
有一次去这个旅行，
One time he was traveling
纸啊，
and he was wearing
因为不用
the
洗，
paper
好像
underwear,
然后
so you can just
啊，
you don't have to wash it and you can just throw it away.
丢掉那一种纸
It's a disposable underwear,
穿了纸，没想到他不够穿，为什么？
and it wasn't enough. Why? Because he farted.
放一个屁，嘣，
Every time he farted, it would bong, it would split apart.
这个纸片呢，从这个喇嘛裙
And
这
the
样子掉下来
pieces of papers fell
走路的时候
inside the lama's skirt as he walked.
去印度的时候吧，
When we went to India,
他自己讲，哎呀
he
这
said
这
it
个
himself.
裤子不好，
This paper, disposable paper underwear, is not good because when you farted, then there would be holes
上师的气
and disintegrate. So the qi practice of Master Lien Teng was very
上师
good.
也是修得很
honestly speaking, Master Lien Teng's spiritual cultivation was very good. He got cancer, diagnosed with cancer, and was told that he could only live for 3 months, but he endured it. He withstood it for 4 years. And during the 4 years, he was still normal. He was not affected or grieved by his cancer. And in this case, Grandmaster lost to Master Lien Teng. Master Lien Teng's CD or attainment, he attained the Hua Guang Buddha, or the Buddha of Lotus Light. He was completely unmoved. He had a lung cancer already to the nth degree, but his life was still very routine. He was still totally unaffected. His mood was totally unaffected. That when he had all tubes all over his body, he could still meditate on the sick bed. That all the doctors and nurses in the hospital came by to take a look at the patient. Why? Because this patient was still meditating with needles and tubes all over his body. I couldn't do that. I'm not able to do that. If I am sick, then I would start to complain. How can I still talk and laugh as if nothing's happened? But for him, he could be like just a normal, well person for 4 years, and he had no fear whatsoever. So he was really great. So that's why he could have the attainment of the Lotus Light Buddhahood. And he showed himself to the second in command of the Tzu Chi Foundation, called the Venerable Tzu Zunzi. And Master Lien Teng emitted the golden rays of light, wearing a beautiful golden outfit, appearing to show the Tzu Zunzi, which is the one below the Venerable Elder Educator of Tzu Chi Foundation under the Venerable Zheng Yan. So this elderly venerable nun bowed and prostrated to Master Lien Teng. And her attendants was trying to hold her. There's no need for you to bow all the way down, to bow all the way down. But Tzu Zunzi insisted on making the prostration to Master Lien Teng. So extremely great. And then thinking of myself when I'm sick, like the splitting headache, like the brain splitting. At that time, I was already dazed. I told Simu, if I'm not a Buddhist and spiritual cultivator, I would jump off the building. I would jump off the house, my house. Right? Right, Simu? I told her, If I'm not a Buddhist suffering this, I would jump off
我们到
the
了医
building.
院呢，医生问我，
We got to the hospital and the doctor asked Simu,
问我有没有想要死，
asked her if I want to
师
die.
母就讲说有啊，有
And
想要
Simu said yes.
一个病痛来，你都没有办法支撑。
I
你看
cannot
你的弟子连登
stand
上
it
机
with just
他
one
都有办
illness.
法在
But
前
your
身插
disciple
管的
Master
时候
Lian
他都能
Teng,
够专坐在病榻上面，
with all the tubes on his
还在静
body,
坐。
he could be seated on his sick bed and meditating.
我那时候我也是心理上也是很感动，
I was
连
really
登都
moved
可以做得到，
that
当师傅
Lian
都做不
Teng
到，
could do it, but his guru cannot.
毅力输给人家。
I'm not.
哦，好了，谢谢你。
Okay, thank you.
不过坦白讲，我是很怕病，我是很怕病。
But frankly
一有病
speaking,
来，
I'm afraid of
真的
illnesses.
人大人为来讲，爱得救护，爱发叫。
Every time I'm sick, then I would start to
你再让这个样子哦，我就要信穆斯林。
complain, and I would start telling Golden Mother, if you let me be like this any longer, then I would become a
你
Muslim.
再让我
I would
像这样
complain to the
下去
Bodhisattvas. If you let me
重新再信基督教。
to continue like this, then I would become a Christian again.
已经痛苦嘛，痛苦的要命。
Because I suffered
人
greatly.
不会，
But Master Lian Teng could not.
最第一痛，
You know, the lung cancer is the most
能
painful.
够这样子坚强的，
But he was very strong for 4 years.
非常的佩服，
I extremely admire him.
真的他很伟大。
He's really wonderful.
像我，
It's really extraordinary. I'm too minuscule. I can't compare to him.
所以昨天晚上这个太太讲，昨天晚上半夜起来上厕所，
The wife said, last night I got up and went to the bathroom, and my sandals were on the husband's side, so she climbed over the husband's body and then went to the bathroom.
上发挥了。
And then afterwards, she also went to the husband's side and climbed over and
我昨
slept.
晚做噩梦，
The husband did not
像
wake
一
up.
辆大卡车
You know,
来回
Honey
过2次，
I had a dream last night, and I dreamt that a huge truck
这个有2个意思，有2个
rolled over me twice.
这个老婆就很长。
There are 2 meanings. So that meant that the wife is very huge because it's a huge truck twice. And second meaning, this is also a kind of scene.
就是属于这种景象产生的一种景象。有一个30多岁的女生啊，长得还不错，工作收
A lady in her 30s looks pretty good
就问她
and with a good job.
为什么还没有结婚？
And then one day Xiaoming asked her, how come you're not married yet? You
有一次受伤，
have good qualification.
在一个疤痕，
Oh, because I joined the running when I was young, so I have some scar at the bottom of the field.
关系呢？
But how is that related to you not getting married?
对呀、
And then the lady replied,
结不结婚关你什么屁事？
that's right. So is it your business whether I get married or not?
其实很多事情啊，不
So
关
actually, There are lots of things that's not our business. We should just cultivate spiritually the best we can and mind our own business, mind our own spiritual cultivation, and don't worry about others, because we don't have much time, really. You think that human life is very long. You know, it's like the box of Kleenex, and you thought like, wow, it's a stack of tissues, so human life should be very long, and you keep pulling the tissue and very fast it's gone. Human life is like that. I still feel I'm young. I'm very young. When someone asks me how old I am, then I would think, oh, I'm 73 already. And then it occurred to me that time is not much time. Now, the most important thing is to be reborn into the Buddha lands, to the Pure Lands. When you're young, you can study more, you can listen to more talks and Dharma teachings, and at middle age, you focus on one Dharma practice until you gain spiritual response. Then you have assurance that you would be reborn. And when you're old, then you still don't have any spiritual response. Then you can only pray, and you can only be focused on the Buddha, and you chant the Buddha's mantra or the Buddha's name, epithet, and you focus and in full concentration to want to go there, because you have no time. Please don't gossip, don't talk about meaningless stuff. That's important. Talking about this, words through the grapevine, that X and Reverend Lien Lei at the Vajra Diamond Temple in New York City. I mean, no, not just the two of them, but a group of people were dining together, including X and Reverend Lien Lei. Just the two of them, or together? Together. And X took a fruit. No fruit here. But on the dining table there were many fruits. And she took a red grape seed and gave it to Reverend Lien Lei. Eat it. And Reverend Lien Lei said, why do you want me to eat the seed of a grape? Why do you want me to eat this grape seed? Oh, because I want to give you fruition. I'm giving you fruition. And Reverend Lien Lei thought, is fruition to be given? No, it's not to be given. Fruition is something that you attain through your own practice. It has to rely on yourself, on your own practice. Human life is not very long. So she wanted to give her the seed of a fruit and telling her, giving her fruition. Did she eat it? Yes. I wasn't there. So how did you know that she ate it? She said it. She ate it. So fruition is not to be given. Fruition is attained through your own practice. Without practice, how can you have fruition from your practice? So you cannot say things as you like. Spiritual cultivation depends on yourself, not on any others. And if you say spiritual centers, the biggest spiritual center belongs to Venerable Zheng Yan, and she has the most money according to Taiwan statistic. Oh, jeez. So it's, I don't know, 19 billion? Or trillion. And the second biggest spiritual center belongs to the Fo Guang San, the mountain of Buddha's light. None of True Buddha School spiritual centers is as big as that, and you think it's big, but no. And also the spiritual centers for Hua Gu San, that building that we pass by every day in Taiwan, that one floor is only 100 million already. So with 9 levels, then there would be 900 million. So that's only a chapter in Taichung City. So what is Zhenfo Zhong? What is True Buddha School? You know how big is Zhongtai? So for the big, how big it is, we can't compare to others. But for our attainments, we have the greatest. Just look at Master Lien Teng. Only Master Lien Teng, that's already the greatest. And Master Lien Miao is here. And she thinks like, but I'm supporting her. I'm the one that's taking care of him. I am his back support. That's what Master Lien Miao thinks. I'm the biggest. But there's no need to compare. Who's the biggest? So when you die, you can be reborn in the Pure Land, or you can have attainments, or you can attain Buddhahood, then that would be the greatest. But the biggest temples or the most beautiful statues are useless. So the greatest is when you can have attainments. Sakyamuni Buddha ever once said that what is the greatest is when you are in union with the Tao, with the way. And if you are completely merged with the way, then you would be the greatest. Foot pain, and I went to the doctor, and after the examination, the doctor said, call mom. And the patient, like, why? And the doctor said, call mom. And the patient was really confused. Why? And the doctor became impatient and glared at him. Just call mom. And the patient was very unwilling, but then called her mom. But actually the doctor was saying, I mean, it's a homophone in Chinese, 叫妈妈. It's like, is your leg numb? But in Chinese sounds like call mom. So it's a homophone, playful in Chinese. So it didn't correspond. Just now we talked about qi. And now we talk about channels. And the channels is also the beginning of the affinity of sin. As soon as the channels is open and flowing, then there would be light. When the inner fire is ignited, there would be fire. So these are all important. When the inner fire is generated, then you would be able to have the scene of the ambrosia, because when the inner fire rises, and the divine water would increase and would drips. And then when the hormone increase, then your skin would be white and smooth and radiant, and your whole body would be radiant. So hormone is this area ambrosia. So area ambrosia, the modern term is hormone. Then it would be wrinkled and coarse and with these pores. But my skin is still very nice. So I just saw about Qi Bai Si, the famous Chinese painters. He lived to be 93, and at that time he wanted to marry a 22-year-old girl. So the painter Qi Bai Si wanted to marry her, but good thing it didn't happen because he died at 93. How many wives did he have? 5. And when he was 93, he wanted to marry a wife, and someone introduced a 40-year-old woman, and he said too old. He wanted a 22-year-old. So his area ambrosia was very strong. So that's why he had such a sign. And otherwise, without the ambrosia, he had no desire, no such desire. That's all for today, Om Mani Padme Hum. We are very grateful to His Holiness' precious and wonderful teachings. In a moment, there would be the empowerment for Akasagarbha. And during the empowerment, please remember to visualize the deity, form the mudra, and recite the mantra. This ends the English interpretation today. Please remember to return your receivers. Thank you.
恭请圣尊赐予与会大众西空场菩萨法灌顶，含有皈依结缘灌顶。 掌声感谢师尊赐受虚空场菩萨法灌顶。请你坛城做观想大礼拜，礼拜根本传承上师与诸佛。嗡啊吽，观想于你，为春经三语。二拜诸菩萨。嗡啊吽，观想于你，为春经三语。三拜九护法金刚。嗡啊吽，观想于你，为春经三语。四平等一起手。护摩法会圆满即将结束了，非常感谢根本传承上师的大加持，感谢师母、诸位上师、教授师、法师、讲师、助教贵宾、同门善信大德的护持，